the premier gathering of innovators, researchers, startups, and industry leaders shaping Africa's AI future. Engage in powerful conversation at our AI conference featuring expert insights, policy discussions, and real-world AI solutions. Explore cutting-edge ideas at the AI exhibition where technology meets opportunity. Join us as we celebrate excellence at the Ghana AI Awards
Doctor, welcome to Hot Issues.
Thank you very much, my sister.
The Ghanaian people would want to know who's failing them when it comes to issues around floods that happen every rainy season. So perhaps my very first question to you will be why you're failing on the job to ensure that the floods are mitigated.
Thank you very much. And let me put this thing in a context for people to know who LUSPA is and our functions that we perform in terms of flooding activities. So in 1999, the government of Ghana came up with a land policy document. And within this land policy, a lot of actions were recommended for implementation. And one of them is for the government to implement reforms in the land sector agencies. So the land administration project started in 2000, and then most of the land agencies went through transformation. And the then time country planning department was one of the sectors. So in 2016, the Land Use and Spatial Planning Act was promulgated, and then the Land Use and Spatial Planning Authority was established. Replacing the Town and Country Planning Department. And the core mandate of the authority is to provide for sustainable development of land and human settlements through the centralized planning system. And the second objective is to ensure judicious use of land. And the third one is to enhance the attainment of Ghana's decentralization program, and in particular, create an enabling environment for the district assemblies to perform their spatial planning functions effectively. And if you look at what I've just mentioned, it tells you that when it comes to spatial planning, we have stages of institutional responsibilities. Okay, so LUSPA has been established purposely to provide directions, guidelines, standards, manuals for spatial planning in the country.
So can we then agree that you still have oversized duty, even of the planning committees at the MMDA level? So
we have that oversight responsibility. But we are responsible to build the capacities of the MMDAs. We are responsible for monitor the activities that they do in terms of spatial planning and land use. We are responsible to issue directives, guidelines, manuals, circulars to them to ensure that they perform their spatial planning activities in accordance with the Land Use and Spatial Planning Act. But let me say that if you look at the institutional structure, LUSPA is operating at the head office with a governing board. And then at the regional level, we have a deconcentrated office, which takes instructions from the head office, LUSPA. And if you look at the setup of the board, it is made up of all the critical institutions responsible for development of our urban areas and then the rural areas. With the exception of the chairman, who is to be appointed by the president, the rest are institutional representatives, including the National House of Chiefs, and then the representatives from the professionals for the built environment, the Ghana Institution of Engineering, the Ghana Institution of Surveying, the Ghana Institute of Planning, then the Ghana Institute of Architects. So that means that before you can have an effective spatial planning in place, you need all stakeholders on board. So local government ministry is part of it, Works and Housing Ministry is part of it, Rose Ministry is part of it, Agric Ministry is part, among others. NDPC is part of it, EPA is part of it. So it tells you that no one agency is responsible for spatial planning, but we have the regulatory power to ensure.
Does the BAC not stop with LUSPA?
Yes.
It stops with LUSPA?
Yes, and that is why I'm trying to explain things to you.
So from your explanation, right, if the BAC stops with LUSPA And LUSPA says, look, we have a whole gamut of stakeholders we work with. Do I sense that you're telling us that perhaps because of that chain of bureaucracy, it's becoming a problem for you to be able to effectively perform your duty?
No, what I'm trying to say is that, you see, we need collaboration, coordination, and cooperation among all the stakeholders.
Right.
That is why we have the governing board. At the regional level, the law has mandated all the regional coordinating councils to establish what we call regional spatial planning committees, chaired by the regional minister, with all the technical, institutions as part of the committee. And then at the district level, where we have the forefront of practice, it's what we call the spatial planning committee. And the spatial planning committee has been given the mandate to perform the spatial planning functions of the assembly. It is made up of 14 members. And the chief executive of the assembly is the chairperson of that committee.
Okay.
So if we talk about spatial planning, we have the policy level. At the policy level, I've mentioned the local government ministry, for instance, they have to provide the necessary resources to the assemblies to perform their activities. So it is not just a matter of coming up with the spatial plan, but how do we implement the spatial plan and also manage or monitor the implementation of these spatial plans?
What would be your assessment of those two questions? How we are enforcing the spatial plan, how we are developing the spatial plan. What would be your response to that?
So that is where the challenges are coming from. We are good in coming out with the plans, but we are not very good in implementing the plans because of so many factors. The institutional inefficiencies is part of it. The indiscipline and the anarchy in the urban society is part of it. Economic pressure like poverty and high housing demand is also part of it. And then the customary land issues is also part of it. Okay. So it's a combination of issues. That's the reason why we have not been able to implement our plans very well. We prepare them, but the implementation becomes a problem. Notwithstanding, we also have areas that we don't even have the plans at all, but developments are going on.
I see. Like which areas?
Especially if you go to the peripheral areas of our urban settlements. Accra here, if you go to Pong, Katamaso, Ningo, Pram, and a lot of areas are developing without recourse to any spatial plan.
And is it because the spatial plans don't exist or people just do not refer to you and your various committees at all the levels for those plans?
You see, we have the laws in place, but the enforcement of the laws with regard to its implementation has always been the challenge. The assemblies are responsible for the preparation of the spatial plans to guide the fiscal growth and developments within their areas of jurisdiction. And the law says that every development should have a permit from the assembly.
Yes.
But unfortunately, some of the assemblies, they have not been able to prepare these plans. But the chiefs or the landowners, they go ahead and also allocate these lands. And more importantly, the collaboration between the assemblies and then the landowners are also at times, a problem.
What do you mean by that?
But notwithstanding, if you look at the spatial planning committee at the assembly level, the chiefs have representative. The indication is that every development activity or every spatial planning issue that they will discuss, the chief should be aware of it. That is the collaboration. But unfortunately, the landowners most of the times allocate lands without recourse to any spatial plan. But the law is very clear, but we are not enforcing them. Because the law says that if you have a land, you don't have the right to determine its use. It is the government, and here we are talking about the assemblies. They determine the use in collaboration with you, the landowners, and all the critical stakeholders.
Right.
So the law says that if a plan has not been prepared to guide the growth and development within an area, you don't have the mandate to allocate it for any development.
When the plans are developed at the district level, do they travel back to the national level at LUSPA for LUSPA to know and understand or perhaps even endorse what has been done?
So we have offices at the regional level, and we have to ensure the quality control of the plans. But the law has mandated assemblies to prepare the plans and then approve it. They have the mandate to approve the plan and also implement the plan. But through our monitoring, we have every mandate to request for the plans and ensure that they have prepared the plans in accordance with the laws that we have in the country. So that's the quality control aspect of it.
Are you challenged when the assemblies don't prepare plans for certain areas in the country in your ability to monitor? Are you challenged in that regard? If the assemblies don't provide the plan, then you cannot monitor. Is that what it is?
No, we monitor to find out the implementation gaps.
Okay.
So when we
so if there's no plan, then you don't have anything to monitor. Is that correct?
When the monitoring means that we go to the assembly, we find out from them the number of plans that they have, the developments that are going on within their enclave, whether there are plans guiding those developments or not. So if we're able to ascertain that those areas are without plans, then that means there's a gap there. And we need to discuss it with them. We need to build their capacity to prepare those plans.
Right, I get it. So then, how do we explain the fact that since the June 3rd disaster, despite all the demolitions that have gone on, we continue to see people building in waterways, reclaiming what should have been a reserve area for nature and building upon them? How do we explain that?
Thank you very much. The critical issue is the ineffectiveness of the assemblies to enforce our planning laws or the development regulations. The law says that you have prepared a plan, there is a buffer for a river, and nobody should develop within that buffer. But yet still, before you realize, people have developed there. So the question is, where is the assembly? How are they performing their special planning functions? But the critical issue is also, do they have the resources to do some of these activities? Because we have given them many functions, and funds must follow functions, okay? So if you have given me functions to perform and I don't have the resources to perform those functions, it becomes a problem. So that's why I said it's a combination of,
of issues.
The combination of issues. But the assemblies are the forefront of practice as far as land use and
but if LUSPA also monitors what the assembly is doing, in terms of we have given you land to, like we saw in February of 2020, when a mangrove was, there was a public announcement of how a mangrove was going to be now used for a mixed purpose area of residential and commercial, for residential and commercial use, excuse me. If you monitor things like that and you tell the assembly, and we still see what we see today, then it means that LUSPA and the assemblies don't have a good working relationship or a functioning working relationship.
I want you to understand the context very well in terms of the monitoring. The monitoring, LUSPA, we don't go to the specific sites. We cannot move from here to maybe Boga to.
That's just an example, Doc.
So what I'm trying to say is that we go to the assembly, okay? We monitor their special planning functions to ensure that they are doing the right things. If they are not doing the right thing, we have sanctions. For instance, if there is a mangrove, you have a plan, you have dedicated a place or zoned the place as a mangrove, and then someone can downstandly give a permit for a developer to develop there. That means the person has misled, he has just misled the assembly. Because the assembly has prepared a plan, they place a mangrove. You don't have to develop there. But somebody has what? Given a permit for someone to develop there. If you look at the section 147 of the Act, it specifies the sanctions to be meted out with such a person. So that's why I'm saying that.
So when you monitor the assemblies and they don't do the work well, you apply sanctions?
We apply sanctions.
Okay.
Now, just last month, we finished the monitoring of all the MMDs in the Greater Accra region, 29 of them. We are compiling the report. After the report, we'll present it to all the MMDs, inviting the minister to be present and the regional minister to be present, and then give the recommendations. Areas that we have to sanction, we will indicate it, and then apply the sanctions accordingly. In
that monitoring exercise, what was the most pressing issue you found with spatial planning within Accra?
The critical issue is especially the peripheral areas where the plans are not there, but they are issuing permit. And some extreme cases also, people or the assemblies, they collect the permit fee from the developers before they grant the permit. So I want to develop my land. I submit an application and then they ask me to pay a development fee or permit fee without even knowing where I'm going to, put up the structure. And if you ask me to pay a permit fee, that means you have granted me the permit and I can go on and develop. And that is a very serious issue that we have really already issued directives to the assemblies to immediately desist from such an activity.
Okay. How many assemblies are likely to be sanctioned based on your monitoring?
For now, I can say that as for the 29 assemblies that we have monitored, about half of them will have some sanctions. But some of the sanctions will be individual sanctions. Individuals misleading the assembly to do the wrong thing.
I see. So, based on that, is it a matter of corruption at the assembly level or people just neglecting their jobs?
It is a combination of the two.
I see.
Yes, the corruption is also there because we cannot ignore it. We have also the Goro boys around.
Right.
People will submit their, development applications to the Goro boys and they don't see them again, and thinking that they have submitted it to the assembly and the assembly is not giving the permit. But the law says that if you submit your application within, 1 month, you should have your permit. If there are any adverse effects on it, they have to write and inform you the reason why the permit could not be granted. So there's no need for us to delay any permit application. The committee has been mandated to meet at least once every month. The implication is that if you submit your application for permit within 1 month, you should get your permit. But some of the assembly, that's why I'm saying that the sanctions, most of them will have it because most of them are not meeting this,
that regulation.
That regulation.
I see. So I want to come back to these protected areas because once too many times we have seen protected areas being developed by individual and then private company developers as well. Under what circumstance could we reclaim what we have reserved for nature?
Absolutely yes. And if you want to really resolve the issue of flooding in Accra, that is the first step that we have to take. All those who have developed at areas that they are not supposed to develop, we need to demolish it. Not just demolishing them, but also reclaim it. We need to expand the channel. We need to green the corridor. Because the drainage system that we have in Accra, we have major rivers from eastern region coming to join the sea. And they go through, Accra. So if you block them, if you block them at particular place, the rippling effect will go to, other places. And these rivers, they traverse through a lot of MMDAs. So there's a need for us to also have the joint planning system so that we won't say that Accra Metropolitan Assembly will green portion of it and then Kwale Krote will leave, its portion. So there should be a joint planning for our drainage system, especially the major rivers going through. If you look at the Odo Basin, for instance, it travels from about almost 17 assemblies. So one assembly alone cannot resolve the issue. But we need to have what we call the riparian buffer planning, so that we will know the extent at which people can develop up to. And then areas that we have earmarked that people cannot develop there, we don't just have to leave it there like that. We need to collaborate with Forestry Commission and Parks and Gardens so that we can green this area. It will become something like a public park that people can go and relax. But we have allowed people to develop these areas, but it's not too late. We need to reclaim it.
But why are you as stakeholders not doing it? Why are you as stakeholders not giving the Ghanaian people a network of drains that will work together for the Ghanaian people?
That's why I earlier on mentioned that we are very good in coming out with the plans.
So we do have a plan.
No, we have a plan. If you look at the Accra, the Greater Accra Metropolitan Area Structure Plan, we have a network of green infrastructure. We call it a network of green infrastructure.
I see.
Which we need to implement it. If we need to, we have to resolve this, flooding issues.
So what does that plan look like? That network of drain infrastructure in Accra.
So the green infrastructure network has looked at all the basins. We have about 5 major, drainage basins, and we have able to track areas that we need to green along this drainage basin, including public spaces that we need to also green. Achimota Forest is part of it.
But we don't see any green right now.
So the greens are not, that's why we have the plan now to implement it. Because let me tell you, if you go to, for instance, Korle Lagoon, we have a plan there. The plan says that it's Korle Lagoon Area Recreational Planning Scheme. And if you look at it, it's supposed to be a green area. But what do we see there? We see haphazard, uncontrolled, and uncoordinated development.
And that's the responsibility of the assembly.
So that's the responsibility of not the assembly alone. Because if we talk about the main drainage channels, the primary drains, it is the responsibility of Works and Housing Ministry. Because they control the water bodies. But the springing up of the structures, the unauthorized structures, that's the responsibility of the assemblies.
But why can't you go to Works and Housing and tell them that, and ask them why you are not going according to this plan for the city?
At the time that the plan was prepared, that was in 1970, Town and Country Planning Department was under Works and Housing.
Well, now it isn't. So nothing stops you from going there.
Yes. So now we are advocating for the implementation of that plan. So we are starting from the Ministry of Local Government. We have discussed it with the ministry, and we need to sit down with all the major stakeholders, because it's not Works and Housing alone. All the major stakeholders. This is the blueprint for this area, and we need to implement it if we want to resolve the issue of perennial flooding within that corridor.
But should we be updating that 1970 plan at this time? Is there a latest plan for Accra that takes into consideration population growth and all that?
It's yes, that's why I'm saying that the Gamma plan was prepared just about 3 years ago.
Right, okay.
And it has also recognized the 1970 plan that was prepared. Because that area is a ecologically sensitive area, so we need to green the area as a nature-based solution to the flooding within that basin.
Is it not too late for that? Because the kinds of development we are seeing in Accra that do not leave green area, it would appear that we will be flogging a dead horse if we now go back to developers and say that, look, this area is supposed to be left green and not cemented.
It's a commitment. It is not all the buffer zones that have been encroached on. And especially those without any documentation. The law says that if we encroach on a public right of space, we can demolish it without recourse to you. So it is a commitment. for us to enforce the provisions of the Act.
We know that I believe sometime last year your office had gone on a reclamation exercise of some of our reserved areas. Is that correct? How many of those reserved areas like Ramsar sites and those things have we been able to reclaim since last year?
You remember the regional minister since last year has been demolishing structures within.
Well, it wasn't done in conjunction with your office.
Yes, that's why the regional minister is the chairperson of the regional special planning committee.
No, but
so they are doing it because we have a regional office.
Absolutely.
Yes. So they are doing in collaboration with LUSPA. So we are saying that it's not just the demolition. The demolition is okay, but you demolish and then reclaim it. Mm-hmm. So we have now demolished it. How do we partner with Forestry Commission and then Parks and Gardens so that we can also green this area to become an urban park?
And we haven't done anything since last year, have we?
Yes, we have not. And that is the critical aspect of it. So it is not just if you demolish
and that is a problem. That is why we keep seeing the structures come up again, because we leave a bay.
And you remember now His Excellency the President has given the directives that we are not going to do things as same. Mm-hmm. So we are going to have a comprehensive implementation plan.
Is it because of money that we were not able to begin the reclamation process despite bringing down dozens of homes?
You see, the commitment is bringing the structure down. But we need more commitment also to reclaim it. So one phase of it, we have done it. The second phase is going to be the reclamation. But you need, like you said, the resources.
Okay.
You need planning to do this. So it is not just a matter of planting the trees.
So what we don't have now is the money to be able to do that.
Monies are always not available, but if you are committed, you will always find money to do it.
So government isn't committed to doing this?
Government is committed. That's why government has now been able to demolish all these structures. The demolition of the structures also involve money. Mm-hmm. We have demolished the structures. So we are now going to map up the areas, because it is not every place that we are going to green. We need to reclaim the lagoon. Mm-hmm. So you need to desert that area to have the lagoon as a retention pond, and then have an area that you have to also plant the trees and then the shrubs and the rest. So in effect, you need to also have a special plan for the area, and that is what we are preparing to do now.
Yes. Do we then agree that it would appear that we are taking steps, but no concrete steps that will actually deal with the flood has been taken yet?
The answer is yes or no. Yes and no.
Okay.
The concrete steps we have initiated. We have demolished the structures, all right? And I have said we cannot just go and green the area for greening's sake. We need to have a special plan to guide this implementation, okay? We need a special plan to guide it. And that is where we are now. And after we have been able to prepare that special plan, then of course we will have the investment plan also, giving you the budget line that will enable us to do it. And also we will have what we call the implementation plan, where various institutions who are supposed to involve will be outlined.
Is LUSPA under-resourced?
Of course, yes. We are under-resourced. But notwithstanding, we are doing our best. And we hope that common fund, for instance, there could be some percentage that could be earmarked for special planning activities in the country. Because special planning affects everybody. And special development sustainability is very crucial for our social, economic, and environmental sustainability. So if you don't have the spatial development right, our economic activities, our social activities, environmental activities will go waste. Just one rain and everything is gone. As a country, we have not been able to quantify the economic benefit of spatial planning. Mm-hmm. But we are readily, quantify the economic loss as far as our inability to enforce the laws and also implement spatial planning is concerned. Mm-hmm. For instance, June 3rd, it was estimated that over 150 billion of economic activities gone. Now, because of issues with spatial planning, the cost of treatment of water for domestic consumption has gone very high because of our inability to enforce development regulations. The cost per capita, as far as infrastructure is concerned, to our peripheral areas is also very high. Mm. If we are constructing highways, the cost of paying compensations for people who have encroached on the right of way run into billions of cedis. But if we have invested a fraction of this amount in spatial planning activities and enforcement, I think it will go a very long way to save the country a lot of benefits.
I see. Doc, I want us to take a break. When we come back, let's look a bit more about how LUSPA views the recent building collapses on the back of rains and what investigators have said so far about that. But we'll also look at what steps we can take to build our future cities, perhaps one that will be climate resilient. We'll be right back. Don't go away. Doc, how are you doing?
I'm doing that.
Okay, great.
Numerous cases of people falling asleep have been reported across the African continent. No one can explain this phenomenon.
With 24/7 FIFA World Cup coverage, sleep can wait. Everything can wait.
Catch all 104 matches from as little as 98 Ghana cedis only on GoTV.
Maintain their form and advance here in 2006.
There was a time when an ordinary afternoon became a national memory. Ghana at the World Cup for the first time.
Then came the night we stood one kick from eternity.
And he hits the bar!
And a nation asked itself, what had happened to the dream?
Then came the old ghosts, a new team, a new fire, the same heartbreak.
But this country knows how to return. 20 years after the first dream, Ghana is going back.
Every story deserves another chapter.
This one will be bigger than ever.
48 teams.
3 countries. 1 world stage.
Every goal. Every tear.
Every argument.
Every moment. TV3 will live it with you.
TV3, your home
of the 2026 FIFA World Cup.
Because this time, the story is not just being told, it is being lived.
When issues break, when situations develop, when lives are affected, the story doesn't wait, and neither do we. We give you full coverage, live from the streets and communities to the corridors of power, as Ghana happens daily. On the Daily Brief, it's not just the details as they happen. We analyze the facts and the implications, the full story, the analysis shaping your perspective on the issues of the day. The Daily Brief, coming soon.
TV3, first in news.
Welcome back. It's still Hot Issues here on TV3. My guest is the CEO of Land Use and Spatial Planning Authority, Dr. Kwadwo Yeboah. Doc, again, thank you so much for sitting down with us. We know, we've spoken about wetlands, Ramsar sites, nature sites, and their connection to the level of floods that we've seen. But another issue we have been faced with in the last few weeks will be the collapse of buildings. In fact, in Accra, the Kolekuloti constituency itself was proactive enough to bring down a building. Outside of that, we know the Greater Accra Regional Minister had formed a multi-agency task force to audit story buildings or developments in this country. Is LUSPA leading that charge?
Thank you very much. It is very unfortunate that we have been experiencing this kind of, building collapse. But the critical issue is that it tells you that the Metropolitan Municipal and then the district assemblies are not up in their game very well. But the law is very clear. The law has given them the mandate. They are the authority to issue permit for every development. But you don't issue permit just for issuing sake. But the critical milestone that you have to make sure the person has fulfilled before you issue the permit. The area that the person is going to develop is the place zone for that particular purpose. So I'm going to develop a shopping mall. Is the place zone for a commercial activity? If yes, what are the requirements that I have to submit? The architectural drawings, the structural drawings, the multi-story, the EPA permit, the fire permit, the land document indicating that the land is indeed your land. After fulfilling all the requirements, among others, after fulfilling all these requirements, there is a technical subcommittee of the Assembly, a technical subcommittee of the Special Planning Committee who has to assess this. So the West Department, the head of West Engineer is part of it. The Fiscal Plan Officer is part of it. Roads Department, the head is part of it. The Development Plan Officer is part of it. Fire Officer is, EPA is part of it. Lands Commission is part of it. So this technical team will have to inspect the site where you are going to put up this structure to assess the suitability of what you are going to do there. If they affirm that everything is okay, they prepare a report with their findings and make a recommendation to the Special Planning Committee, which I earlier mentioned.
How often does this happen?
So the law says that the Special Planning Committee will have to meet at least once every month. So that means they can even meet 10 times a month. But before they meet, the technical subcommittee will have to meet and give them their report and findings and recommendations. So the Special Planning Committee cannot meet without a technical input from the technical subcommittee. So when the recommendations are made to the Special Planning Committee and they sit on it, they either approve of it if everything is okay. They can defer it if they see some issues have not been resolved very well and refer it back to the technical subcommittee or refuse the application outright. After the permit has been granted, then you pay your permit fee and then you are issued with the permit. It doesn't end there. The development of the building, you need to ensure that at every stage, the assembly will have to inspect and issue a certificate that for foundation, they will issue a certificate that, okay, you've done the right thing in accordance with the permit that we issued to you before you continue, up to the time that you finish with it.
I see.
After you have finished with your structure, you don't move in. You need to apply for what we call certificate of habitation to the same assembly. So the technical subcommittee will have to inspect and verify that you have built your structure in accordance with the permit issued to you. And then they will submit their recommendations to the Special Planning Committee for approval. And then they will give you that certificate of habitation before you can move and occupy the structure.
So, but let me guess. the assemblies are not thorough when it comes to this. They are not doing it to the letter.
They are not doing it to the, so that is the challenge. Okay. That is the reason why some of the collapsed buildings, they have a permit. Because we issue the permit to them, we don't monitor, the development.
But the assemblies will tell you that we issue them stop work and they don't.
So if you issue stop work and they don't stop, you are a planning authority, what do? You have, because the law says that every development should have a permit. If you don't have a permit and you develop, there are sanctions attached to it. So why can't you prosecute the person? So we are not enforcing the law. That is the reason why we haven't, this kind of building collapses. And at times also, they don't even have a permit at all. But you see the person has developed up to maybe 4 or 5 floors. So where is the assembly? But the assembly is supposed to establish what we call planning and building inspectorate unit. And their responsibility is to monitor the day-to-day physical planning activities within their area of jurisdiction. So from the onset, they should be able to find out that somebody is developing and stop the person.
So they don't have an excuse to say that they just saw this building there?
Not at all. There's no excuse for them.
Because the monitoring starts from foundation.
From
foundation. But it brings me back to the issue of the audit. Has the audit of these multi-story developments started at all? Have we started doing that?
I'm very sure they have started, but I don't really, have an idea when they are going to start. The reason is that the audit is purely, engineering, issue. So the engineers, the structural and then the civil engineers and other, stakeholders are leading this. Though the Ghana Institute of Planning is also part of it, where they also look at the planning aspect of it. But I don't really know whether it has been started or they have not started this. But it is very crucial.
I see.
But it is the responsibility of the assembly.
Very well.
To do this.
To do this.
It is a responsibility. Because the assembly, if you identify a building and you think the building there's a question mark on it, you have every right. You don't need the regional minister to come in and form a committee. Because the assemblies are not doing the right thing. That is the reason why the regional, special planning committee be having oversight responsibility over special planning, activities at the district level, they come in. But if the assemblies are doing the right thing based on their functions, I don't think the onus will be on the regional minister to do this audit.
If this audit took place, what are we likely to see, particularly in the capital city? What do you think its outcome will be?
They are going to identify buildings that are not supposed to stand.
That will be a whole lot of buildings.
Oh, we don't know. At times, you don't just look at the building and say it is not structurally sound. Let them do the critical, professional assessment.
I agree with you, I agree with you. But based on your knowledge of how the assembly works, the likelihood that we will find buildings that have not gone through all stages of the monitoring process is high. True or false?
We have been advising the assemblies to inventorize all the structures, the buildings, kiosks, containers, everything within their areas of jurisdiction, and then find out those with permit and those without permit. And those without permit that they think it can be regularized, then you regularize it and charge them with penalty. And those that you think are not feasible for regularization, you demolish them. And this is a critical function of the assembly.
I see. You seem very frustrated by the lack of action thereof from the assembly. Am I correct to come to that conclusion?
You see, when the assemblies, when they perform very, very well, it will have a mirroring effect on LUSPA. If they are not performing very well, that's why I'm here now.
Are the assemblies your biggest challenge right now?
So because they are the key implementers of the Act 925. But at the forefront of practice, they issue the permit. They have to prepare the plans, ensure that people, developers are.
Should we amend that part of Act 925?
No, the assemblies have been, the Act 936, the Local Governance Act, has also made assemblies the planning authorities. And I think planning should be at the local level. That is fine. But that's why we have the stages. So every stage at the national level, you issue the guidelines, policy guidelines, standards, guidelines, standards, manuals, and the rest for them to implement. And you monitor what they do and sanction if they are not doing the right thing. The Ministry of Local Government is responsible to provide resources, to the assembly. But they don't do it alone. You do it in collaboration with other key stakeholders. EPA is there, Lands Commission is also there, Fire Service is there. So it is not that, but that's why we are talking about committee made up of different, institutions that play a key role as far as spatial planning is, concerned.
Who do we hold criminally responsible for the situations of building collapses we have seen in the last few weeks?
Before you can hold anyone criminally responsible, you need to do your investigation. For instance, the building that has collapsed, has it been issued with a permit?
The investigator said that, in some cases there were no permits, proper permits for, the structures that were coming up.
If they don't have permit, they don't have permit. Where proper permit means what?
Well,
so if you don't have permit, why are you developing without permit? So we can hold you criminally responsible for developing without permit. Because if you have applied for the permit, perhaps they will have advised you to put some things in place to avoid that. Another issue is that the law is saying that the assembly should ensure that no development takes place without a permit.
Absolutely. Which complicates this matter.
So the assemblies are also, so at times you see that the building has collapsed and assembly officials have said, oh, the person has developed without permit. Where were you when the person was developing?
Well, that's a question LUSPA should be asking the assemblies on
these are the questions that we are asking them. That's why we want them to take spatial planning serious.
Very well. I want us to look at, how the country has evolved, particularly the national capital over the years. Population growth will also mean that we are needing more places to live, and then also living means that we will be developing certain areas. How has our spatial planning and land use taken into consideration population growth over the last decade, perhaps?
In fact, if I should go back, see, spatial planning had, statutory recognition as far back 1945, when Town and Country Planning Department was established by Town and Country Planning Ordinance of 1945, Capital 4. Since then, Accra, there has been a lot of, spatial plans. 1944, for instance, there was an outline plan which was revised to become the first master plan for Accra. 1958 Accra Master Plan. If you look at the 1958, Accra Master Plan, they earmarked a lot of areas for greens. Earmarked a lot of areas for residential and commercial, interferes with the greens. The plan was a very nice plan. It started implementing. It was the first president who initiated this and prepared by Town and Country Planning Department.
But between then and today?
And then 1991, we had another comprehensive, strategic plan for Accra.
Okay.
And that strategic plan for Accra. But let me go back a little bit. The 1958 one, the population was very small. So it covers up to Legon School, and other areas was rural areas, so it did not cover that very well. But that 1958 plan, if you look at the graphic road, that road was not there. It was the 1958 plan. The Obasanjo Highway, for instance, it was not there. The 1958, the N1 was not there. It was 1958, plan. So you could see the kind of implementation. Okay. Then 1991, the strategic plan for Accra. It was a very comprehensive, outlining how drainage issues should be resolved, how waste management should be resolved, created green belts within the peripheral areas of Accra. Unfortunately, we couldn't implement about 20% of this. Then, just quite recently, we have been able to come up with the structure plan for the Greater Accra metropolitan area again. And this time, the priority goes beyond the Greater Accra, because we cannot say that Kasoa is not part of Accra. Contiguously, Kasoa is part and parcel of Accra. Aburi is part of Accra.
Right, but
so the plan covered all. That's why we are talking about network of greens.
Right. So how is GAMA taking into consideration issues around housing? The kind of properties people are living in, because now everybody's house is a mixed-use property, commercial, a little bit of commercial, a little bit of residential, and people, instead of building, multi-purpose or multi-facilities that a lot of people can live in high-rise building, everyone wants to have their own properties. It all has an impact on our ability to create housing for a growing population. So what is our plan as a country?
So let me go back a little bit. If you look at the 1991, for instance, master plan, strategic plan for Accra, one of the key recommendations is to densify the southern part of the N1, airport residential area, cantonments, range, Roman range, and what have you. That is the recommendation. We have to densify the area so that many people can live within this area to curb the exploring. But unfortunately, we did it in a piecemeal manner.
Right.
Selling just individual plots for people to develop it, instead of government taking bold steps to say that, hey, I'm using the land as an equity for whatever development that is coming, so that I can regulate the rent. We gave it entirely to the private person. And how many people can rent within this if we are not controlling it? So that recommendation, we couldn't achieve
at all
the objective of it.
Is it too late?
To make sure that now the lands are gone. All the bungalows are gone. We have private, and it is very expensive renting there. But notwithstanding, government also started some, affordable housing projects. And that is where we have to really concentrate now. Because most of the unauthorized structures that we are, seeing across, the urban fabrics, it is because the people don't have the money to buy the land and also build at some places. So any marginal land that they see, they just go and have some kiosks or whatever and live in. It is very important for us to take social and affordable housing
seriously.
Very serious, if you want to.
Doc, we'll end our conversation here, despite not going any further on building Ghana's future cities, because there's Kumasi, there's Takoradi, there's Tamale. All over the country, there are future cities to be built.
If I could chip in
quickly.
So we have proposed, if you look at the national urban policy, for instance, that we should have a secondary cities, or what we call the medium cities, and develop them to serve as a counter magnet to the big metropolitan areas, so that it can contain people there, instead of everybody
moving to Accra. That's a conversation we've been having for at least 3 decades now. But we'll see what happens under this administration, and while you are now a fully fledged CEO of LUSPA as well. But thank you so much for your time, Doc.
You're welcome.
Dr. Kwadwo Yeboah is CEO of Land Use and Spatial Planning Authority. We've been looking at how to mitigate the floods and poor building structures in this country, and how to ensure that our future is not flood prone, but flood resilient. I'll see you same time next week. Bye-bye.